The Oklahoma Sooners are no longer trying to prove they belong in the SEC. That part is over. Brent Venables took a team that a lot of people expected to get swallowed up by this league, won 10 games, got OU into the CFP, and reminded everybody that the Sooners did not come to the league to be middle of the pack. But now comes the hard part. Because if Oklahoma is serious about taking the next step, not just making the playoff, not just being in the conversation, but actually becoming a team that can win the SEC, Sooners have to answer some uncomfortable questions. Can the O line become a championship level unit? Can the run game become a weapon instead of a concern? Are the Sooners deep enough at the right spots? And can John Mateer in this offense finally give Brent Venables' defense the help it deserves? Tonight on Sooner Intel, we're naming our biggest position concerns for the Oklahoma Sooners heading into 2026. And then we're doing what the SEC always forces you to do, stack everybody up. 16 teams, one league, no hiding. It's Sooner Intel time. Let's get it. Welcome back to Sooner Intel. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, along with my co-hosts, Kchris Griffin from the Horns Down podcast and Mr. Mason, Chris Mason from Sooners 360. And if you love Oklahoma Sooner football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame. Oops, sorry, Sooner Intel. Gentlemen. Sorry, I've been recording stuff and all that all afternoon. Had it all switched up and backwards. What's up, Kchris, Mr. Mason?
What's up, Jason?
What's up, Jason?
Good to see you guys. Hey, man, we're going to
Rolled
talk a
any
little bit
dice
about.
lately?
Huh?
You rolled any dice lately?
Have I rolled any dice lately? No. No.
We were,
Why,
we were
what is
thinking
that about?
we were thinking of having an outing where we'd bet on balls and strikes at a Rangers game.
You know, I'm in. I mean, I am a degenerate just like that.
I'm feeling pretty lucky. I'm feeling pretty lucky right now.
Nothing like, But I got to tell you, the one thing I hate about that whole story is like, what a quitter. You're going to rehab? Out of here. Nut up and get it done, bro.
Well, at least get your knuckles broken by someone collecting before you go to rehab, right?
What a weak sauce move.
At least,
weak sauce move.
At least have a little at least have had some aggro against you when you couldn't pay your betting bills before you go hide in rehab. Some good family men from the desert looking for you before you go hide in rehab, right?
Listen, man, I mean, it's not like he's anything different than the rest of the Big 12 taking on new money, from everything that they got going on there. Ooh, that's going to be something else. All this, investor money.
That's a tale for another episode, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, man, it's wild to me that they're going to take that, payday loan cash from the Redbird folks over there. So we'll see how that all turns out. But no, listen, obviously, as I talked about in the intro there, we got to talk about whatever position group it is that we feel concerned with. What would be your, the one that you worry about the most? Each of us, we'll go ahead and start with that, and then we're going to rank our top 16, our 1 to 16 SEC power rankings for the first time this year, going into the season. So we'll see kind of where everything shakes out on that one. But let's go into that. I mean, you brought up the subject there, Mr. Mason. So talk to us about what you were feeling about it, and why you felt like this was important for us right now.
Well, the Gabe and Teddy obviously talked about biggest weaknesses and strengths, and they were kind of playing off the ESPN ranking. ESPN did like a post-spring ranking of the top 25, and they had like a strength and a weakness for each football team. And they had this bizarre weakness for OU that OU didn't have any experience on defense, that the defense wasn't experienced. And Gabe and Teddy kind of blew it apart, any number of ways. Any number of ways that this seems silly, that doesn't quite seem right. So from that perspective, and they said OU's biggest strength was the receiving staff, and I'm like, oh, okay. So you kind of wonder if ESPN has an AI guy who just sort of throws shit together and put this list together. So I thought the three of us should lend our Sooner expertise onto this, and then George Stoya, who we over at Sooner Scoop, does a good job following the program, I think, as well as anybody. So he posted a depth chart today, what he thought was going on with the depth chart. So I sent it out to you guys so that you guys have something to reflect upon. And when I look at this, to me, when I'm looking at this depth chart, the position group, or maybe even just the one position that I'm really concerned about coming out of spring is probably if something happened, who does OU roll out at left tackle? Left tackle, I think you can move Foji to right tackle if something were to happen to Amarion Harris. But I don't quite know if something happens at left tackle with Michael Fasusi, and let's just say if you can't move Amarion Harris to left tackle because maybe you're moving Foji starting at right guard and maybe something is going on with Zaida, I don't know. So I think that's my biggest, if you're asking what my biggest worry is, I don't see a natural backup at left tackle. George had Deacon Schmidt listed as the second team left tackle on his depth chart. I don't think that's a bad suggestion. I think Deacon is more of a natural right tackle. So maybe I'm worrying about nothing. That there's really, you'd have to get to the third guy. That it's Michael Fasusi, then you'd move Amarion Harris, and then at right tackle you have Amarion Harris, Foji, and maybe Deacon Schmidt or Peyton Joseph on right. That's what he has listed. So maybe right tackle has enough bodies that you'd have to get where Fasusi isn't available, Amarion Harris isn't available before you're having to come up with a left tackle. But just based upon what I look at the roster, I see OU with one true left tackle in Michael Fasusi, kind of a backup in Amarion Harris, and then I see like four right tackles, four guys who could probably do something at right tackle for you. So when I look at just the depth chart and the position group, O-line I think is probably the thinnest position group overall coming out of spring. I think it could be by the fall this could be a very different topic. But I think left tackle right. I was going to choose safety, but I think safety has some hidden built-in depth with Newcomb, Reggie Powers. Where and I think Nico Jandro had a really good spring. So I think the safety position is like six guys there for two spots. So I really think you've got a kind of a hidden depth beyond the big three of Bowen, Boganowski, and Omarion Robinson. So that's why I went with left tackle, maybe right tackle. The O-line I think. The O-line in general, I think, is a little thin, but it's left tackle is, I guess, my biggest worry.
Okay, Chris,
Jason,
you hit it next.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I got the last one here.
Jason, you go, my friend. Come on, Jason.
I got the last one, brother.
All right,
I got
Jason,
the last one because I know it's one that you're not going to go with, and it's where I'm headed. So
I'm rolling some dice. All right.
Shake them rocks.
I'll be honest with you, man. That's why I wanted Jason to go first, because I don't want to necessarily steal what he's gonna do, because it's kind of an aspect of that. Because I don't necessarily have like a glaring weakness. I guess if I went off of anything right now, it would well no, because Heineke's back, and I trust with Heineke, Sullivan,
Yeah.
Kip Lewis. I think Nesta, that's built in. I think that'll be fine. I think Demarcus James kid as well. I think you have some hidden gems in that defense. Again, it's not necessarily how they start. It's usually kind of how midway through and how they finish, because there's always some guy that cracks the rotation at some point, right? It's been characteristic the last last what 3 years or so.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I really don't have necessarily a glaring weakness. Have a kind of an aspect, but that's why I would pass it to Jason.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry, G.
I'm gonna go ahead and just address the elephant in the room. It's quarterback, folks. It's quarterback, and it isn't close. Because here's the deal: we couple of things. Obviously, you're concerned about whether Mateer's going to come back, be a better player. I think it's clear that if he's healthy, he's going to be better. Problem is, this is a guy that, in order to be good, has had to be mobile and able to get out of the pocket and kind of do his things, freelancing a little bit, running the football. I don't think that that's something that you can afford to have happen this year, because, to be honest with you, what we saw, if Bo Bentley is the answer to your questions right now at this in this season, I think you're in trouble, because what we saw of him in the scrimmage wasn't good. And I'm not saying that he can't get better, but what we saw already definitely said, "Nah, you're not ready for that." So the biggest question that I would have is, can you keep John Mateer healthy? Whether or not John Mateer is going to be able to come back and be that guy, I believe that he's worked on a lot of things, and the way that they're working on that offense. We talked about this ad nauseum. If they're running the football and doing the things the way we expect them to do that, and you don't have to put him in danger 10, 15 times a game like you saw all throughout last year, then I think you're probably okay. But if he goes down, then I think it's an issue, because I don't know that. I mean, Whit Neubauer, he's a big guy, he has a big arm, but I don't know that you can really depend on him to come in and take Oklahoma to where you're expecting them to be this year. You've got a defense that could be better than the one that you had a year ago. You've got weapons. You should be able to run the ball. Your tight ends are good. The question is going to be, in this season, to me, hinges on the play of the quarterbacks. And if John Mateer's not in there, I don't know that I have a whole lot of faith in the rest of them. Just being real. So to me, I don't even think it's close. I think it's quarterback and only quarterback for me, because that's the only concern I would have. If they play well at that position, well, the sky's the limit for this football team. If they don't, I think that you're looking at them sliding back significantly.
If
Anybody?
I just jump in here, just to kind of piggyback off of what Jason is saying, honestly, I agree. I agree with that point to some measure. I I feel like I feel like that offensive line and material going to mesh. I think that we could keep him upright this year. I don't. It wasn't necessarily near the sacks. It was just some of the hurries, and that even that thumb thing was just kind of just a random occurrence, But Jason, I think you make some really good points. Because you talked about it when we were at the spring game together. I would say, Jason, if I could just piggyback off of you, it'd be the same point that I made to you at the spring game. I think um, if I had a concern, it would just be whether or not Mateer is going to be willing to throw the ball down the field, ready to go vertical. You have the weapons. You went out there and you got the tall wide receivers. You have the Livingstons, the Pettits, right? Manny Choices of the world, right? Who I think Manny Choice and Livingston are going to have their fair share of mismatches out there with guys, especially on the outside. So I think you have to show the threat and the ability to go vertical. not just over the middle and those deep digs. Love those plays. Those are his cash plays. Those are money throws for him most of the time. But we got to be able to go up and down that sideline. That's a throw right there that you know they want to get to. There's times where your guys are winning those one-on-ones. You have to be willing to throw it. Jason and I sat together at the Bama game, at the playoff game, and there were a couple of times where guys were getting loose in the back end. Mateer has to be willing to throw that ball. Now, do you get a little bit discouraged? Because of the X-Rob drop, maybe you kind of go to more of a condensed game plan, but we know he can make the throws. We saw those throws at the spring game. He's got to be willing to go deep, and he's got to be willing to throw guys open. And I think that we'll see that this year from him, but I think it has to be consistent as far as showing that we played with kind of I wouldn't say a timid offensive game plan last year. I would say that it was just limited because of some of the things that we wanted to do but just could not do.
I think it got timid as he got injured, and you didn't go with the backup with that wasn't injured. So I think they definitely didn't go with their their best game plan, and he wasn't throwing down the field with any kind of confidence whatsoever. At least for a good part.
The reason why I don't use timid is because, again,
had a broken thumb.
Or that too, but I don't use the word timid because, again, the Missouri game, they were throwing up and down the field, just couldn't connect, But again, you're throwing to your 5'9", 5'8". I mean, I say 5'8", 5'9", 5'10".
He gets shorter every week.
Wide receiver on the outside who, I wouldn't necessarily say struggled against bigger DBs, but, just didn't really create all the separation that we thought he could, right? And there were times where he had to step on this guy. They just could not connect. But, and that's not necessarily, a thing on Deion Burks as well, because, Mateer, the Williams kid that was up there at Washington State wasn't that much taller anyways. I think he was actually 5'11". Regardless, though, you get my point. I just think at some point down the stretch, it just kind of got to the point where it was like, hey, this is what we are. Let's just go, with it, which is defensive-led team, blah, blah, blah. It just was not complimentary football. But I think that's the next evolution that this offense has to get to outside of obviously running the ball, pounding the rock whenever they can. But they have to be able to show that they're a threat, with the deep ball too.
Yeah, just plain evidence-wise, right? If OU, most of the top teams in college football, if their starting quarterback goes down, aren't in great shape. The Trinidad Chambliss thing is really the anomaly out there. So Jason's exactly right. If OU loses Mateer and has to go with their backup quarterback, yes, is the combination of Whit Newbauer and Bo Bentley going to keep OU in playoff contention if Mateer has to miss 5 games in the middle of the season?
I think it's a tough ask, man.
It's a tough ask for, I think, any quarterback. One of the we're going to get to our rankings, and one of the reasons why I'm a little down on LSU is, who knows what the hell's going on with Leavitt?
Right.
And their backups are talented, but they don't have the experience.
Not in the SEC necessarily, and Husan Longstreet doesn't have hardly any.
Exactly, he's a great prospect, but
right. He's not.
So is Jackson frickin' Arnold, and I don't know the difference between those guys right now, right? So I think you're exactly right. Mateer didn't hurt himself running the football. He hurt himself with a freak play in the pocket. So he's not an injury-prone guy necessarily that we've seen.
Hold on, though. One thing you got to say, though, he didn't just hurt his thumb. He came into that game with a bum wheel because of how much he ran
against Michigan.
And in the game before that in the Temple game.
Yeah,
too.
so no, you are right. So he's somewhere between. He's not like injury. He's not like Leavitt, who's like Law. He's having major surgery, and he's not healthy in this offseason, right? You guys saw Mateer at the spring game. He's throwing the ball, right? We didn't see Leavitt do anything for LSU spring game. And there are other quarterbacks out there who are kind of injury prone who we could mention who fit more of that category. But yeah, you're right. OU, obviously, there was no way they could keep Mike Hawkins, even if they wanted to, and Mike needed to go start somewhere, which he's going to go do at West Virginia. Haven't tracked that. I don't know what he looked like in the West Virginia spring game, but it certainly sounds like he's the starter out there. So he made the right decision to go somewhere else and start. From that perspective, so you couldn't keep him. So, and they didn't want to pull in or spend the money on a veteran backup because I guess they just didn't like what they saw in the portal for the money that they had available.
It would have been a gamble. I'm sorry. Sorry, I had to. I'm sorry.
All right, Chris. All right. So I don't know who that would have. I don't even know what name that would have been. Right. I mean, I'm not even sure if, and that would have stopped you from being able to get maybe some of the other pieces you got in the portal or retain some of the other guys you retained. So there's always, there's a money factor there that, OU is, but to Jason's point, OU is gambling. You are gambling that to a certain degree, just like, name me UGA's backup quarterback.
I have his name at the top of the tip of my tongue, but he looks like a great prospect, but he's also a guy that has no no experience. I think that the same would be. Here's what I would tell you is that guy's not a true freshman, and you've got a true freshman, and then you've got Whit Neubauer, who's who's coming in, who he comes from the FCS level, and the thing is about that. I mean, look, he's got a big arm, he's a big body guy. Maybe it works out fine with him. But at the end of the day, if you're really believing that, and here's what I would just say about the Bo Bentley stuff. I think the kid is going to be good. I just think that rushing him into service right here is not going to help him any as far as development is concerned. No. And from what we saw in the spring game, he was not making great decisions, and he was sped up. Expecting him to get that good within a 3 or 4 month period to where he could come in and take over and you keep on humming like you were. That's a lot to expect from a freshman.
No.
Whether you're behind the starting offensive line or not.
Yeah, if Batir goes down, OU will take a dip in whatever their offensive efficiency is with him in there, right? I mean, they're going to take a dip. Whether they can absorb that with playing better defense, better run game, I don't know. But my only point to you, Jason, is I think you're dead right. But I just think I think most teams have this as their biggest weakness, quarterback. If you take the Mestamanka kid from OSU, they're sunk, right?
Well, I think they're sunk anyways. I don't think that G5 is going to matter in Stillwater. I'm sorry, but
I'm just saying that if you look at up and down, I don't know. Texas's backups haven't gotten much action. They're talented.
Who's going to come in for Avery Johnson at K-State? I get it.
In this world of the transfer portal and poaching, you're going to have a hard time keeping a quality backup. I mean, quality backup on you.
Jaron O'Neal, he knows all these quarterbacks. Mr. O'Neal.
So I just think who's Cal's backup behind their stud? Who's UCLA's backup?
If anybody in the chat want to correct me, really, to be honest with you, the only team in the nation that really has a backup that's worth a damn would probably be Ohio State, wouldn't you say? Because that St. Clair kid, he lit up that spring game.
But he still hasn't played, and we don't know. I mean, if you put Bo Bentley behind the first team offense and you had him play the second team defense, maybe if St. Anne's were pots and pans, et cetera, et cetera. So, he hasn't played either. So, is he super talented? Yeah, I mean. If you gave him all the first team weapons, would he be better? Yes. But I think most teams would struggle in the scenario we're all kind of thinking of, right? Mm-hmm. It's like 5th, 6th game in the season, Mateer gets hurt, and you don't know what's going on, and you're on the road somewhere.
Neubauer is much better? Chris.
Okay.
Listen, I mean, it's great for you to say something like that, and I guess it should give all of us hope if, you must know all, but at the end of the day, look, I've been as hard as anybody and probably harder than anybody on John Mateer. I'm going to tell you, Oklahoma needs him healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
he's,
you want them, if you want these Sooners to go deep in these playoffs and have an opportunity to win a national championship, they need him at the helm.
right.
End of story. End of story. And that's why, to me, it's the most important and the most concerning position group out of the group for me. Because if he goes down, and on top of that, look, I know that he's worked on it. He's got a coach. He's working. He looked good planting his feet. I don't care about the off-platform throws necessarily, if as long as your feet are planted and you're doing things the right way. At the end of the day, what does he do when the bullets start flying in the SEC? It's one thing when you're going up against the number twos in the spring game. It's not the same thing as playing against these teams that he's going to be playing against, as early as week 2 and going into week 4 and then week 6 against Texas. It's not going to be the same. And we know it's not going to be the same. So can he be better? I would hope so. And I think that they're putting Mateer in a position to be able to be better simply by the fact that he doesn't have to do as much. That's a great thing. At the end of the day, you got to keep him healthy. And
Yeah.
if you're not, I think it's troublesome for Oklahoma. The expectations go way down if he's not in the game.
I
Yeah.
think I think the interesting part, and again, Jason, like we talked about at the game, and then when you took me back home, for me with Mateer, I think really the next evolution of his game is not necessarily even the deep ball. I just want to add this in there. I think one of the things, again, I told Chris Mason this as well. We didn't really give Arbuckle and Mateer enough credit for, hey, they know when to call a different play. They know when to kill a bad play, audible to something different, get that in there. Next evolution of Mateer's game, especially now having that wide zone, having those different type of run concepts in there or whatnot with the play action, right? His decision making once, like you say, when the bullets start flying, that's really what's going to take his game to the next level, being decisive, because they're going to not only kind of reduce all of the thinking that he has to make. He's going to have limited windows to get into. He's either going to, hey, you're going to either have A or B going down here on these deep routes, these two, little orbits or crossers or whatnot. You're going to have to figure something out. But I think what I'm really excited about for Mateer, at the very least, is the simple fact that I truly believe that if we do go 5 wide, it's actually going to be something you're going to have to actually game plan for it now. It's not just going to be a
QB draw.
a QB draw the whole time. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something that I am interested in, because, again, spring game, and I know it's spring game, but they went 4 wide, and obviously they're not going to run Mateer up the thing, but you're looking at some of the things they're doing. They're throwing the ball. I mean, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is really good. Saw tight end kind of get schemed open out of that stuff. So I think with the weapons that you have this year, there's no excuse for Arbuckle and Mateer not to get the job done. There's no excuse for that offensive line that I do believe is talented, and I think has some guys on the back end, Chris Mason, that could prove useful if necessary. I just feel like, man, there's no excuse for what you're seeing from Mateer in that game, because I mean, for me, it wasn't necessarily the throws to Hanson, the throws to Rocky Beers, the throws that he made to Satania as well. For me, with Mateer, it was just watching his footwork, his mechanics. I mean, one thing I'm always, all the way back to Spencer Rattler, Jason can tell you, Chris Mason, I was big on, hey, the next evolution of his game is what? Climbing the pocket, climbing and finding those holes. One guy that, like, I couldn't necessarily stand, but I respected his game so much was the kid that was at LSU that's now the quarterback for the Bengals. What's his name?
Wait, say again.
Say it again.
Kid that played for LSU is now the quarterback for the Bengals.
You mean
Burrow.
Burrow.
Joe Burrow was amazing in the pocket. Hell, to my Texas brethren out there, Quinn Ewers, that was the one thing he was good at his last year was just climbing that pocket, staying clean, moving up, finding guys, and not he's hurried, but he's not in a hurry. So I mean, I saw Mateer do those things in the spring game against our defensive line. I said, hey, that's very important because that shows maturation. That shows that he's actually making the effort to really correct some of these things. So if that carries over to the season, that should help him kind of stay out of harm's way as well. So I think
the only thing I'll say about that though is that they're not going to hit you in the spring game. You're not getting touched.
Yeah, but at the same time,
are the bullets really flying, bro? Come on.
Hey, shit. If you don't think Danny Okoye and Wine were,
didn't hit him. They weren't going to hit him.
One-on-ones and stuff like that, those reps, they're still getting there, Jason, but he's climbing up.
Okay. Wait. They were going against Bo Bentley, bro. They were going against Bo Bentley. What you mean?
You said what?
Those guys were going against Bo Bentley.
Jason, you get what I'm saying, Jason.
I'm just busting your chops.
All right. Okay.
I'm busting your chops. No, at the end of the day, I get it. I think he was better. He was.
That's perfect, man.
And he was throwing it down the field, and I'm glad to see. Look, it was clear to me, and I said this to you after the game the other day as well. It's clear that you could see that there's been work being done. He's been working at it. You can tell that his mechanics were definitely better as far as his footwork was concerned, especially getting his feet underneath him, stopping and getting his feet underneath him before he threw. I'm not one of the people that cares about the arm slots. These guys know what they're doing. As long as you got your feet under you, you can still get power like that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We've seen that be one of the things that you can do. At the end of the day, it would concern me if he – look, you're not – at the end – is he still going to make mistakes throughout the season? I think he's going to. I think you need him to make mistakes and not be afraid to make some of them as well. That's part of it too.
Yeah.
But my thing is keeping him healthy because, again, I think he's your only hope. I really do. I think he's your only hope.
I think if you want to go deep in the playoffs, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, completely accurate. So, yeah. All right. Well, we've killed this.
Isn't that where we are at this point?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we are. But just like
year 5,
just like an NFL franchise, Joe Burrow goes down and the Bengals are sunk. I mean, pretty much. Okay. I don't. Maybe like I said, some people said maybe Oregon with the Nebraska. With
Dante Moore and
Riola
and Dylan Raiola behind.
Although Riola kind of looked like crap at Nebraska, so I don't know how much.
Is he even going to be healthy enough to play? I don't know. He blew his leg.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's not exactly. I mean, on paper, on recruiting rankings, that sounds good, right? And that's kind of the difference. Like lots of schools have like great recruiting rankings backups, but any of them that have really won games when the bullets are firing, no. I mean, nobody really has that. Nobody really has that other than, I just don't know that any teams do. I mean, Tennessee.
I don't know that there's a bunch of teams that are going to be good if you go to the backup, but I think in this case, but if you compare it to last year, what you had as a backup and compare it to what you have as a backup right now, it's not the same.
No. You don't have a guy who played 5 games, 6 games, whatever Mike played in 2024. You don't have a guy who's a third-year player.
And show signs of being able to get it done too, right? You know what I mean?
You don't have that. So, all right, Chris, we're not letting you completely off the hook. All right. So I've taken left tackle. Jason has barbecued our backup quarterback situation, the inexperience there.
Thanks.
Which is, and again, Bo Bentley could be a great quarterback. He's a young height. He's got great. He's talented. All we heard was how great he looked all spring, and then Brent was like, "Oh well, screw that. I'm going to put him through the blender in the spring game." And so everybody was.
Wasn't that swell of old Brent to do that to him? Boganowski could have killed him on that one play.
Well, it's a learning curve, right? Build him up, break him down, and then build him back up. So it was kind of a so from that perspective. But Chris, you got to give me just one area you think you're slightly worried about with the team. Maybe it's the trainer, the water boy, the backup deep snapper. I don't know. Backup long snapper.
I'll tell you. We talked about it just like an hour ago. Do I think the running back room will be better? Yes. I know you guys go try to jump on me for this one. If Jason's saying that Mateer needs to stay healthy, X Rob needs to stay healthy. That's a concern of mine.
Why
He
would you
has to
believe
be
that he
healthy.
would? Why would you believe that he would?
What?
That guy didn't make it through the first game after he decided to burn his red shirt.
Miss Mason, you're not supposed to jump ship to Jason's side. You're supposed to be on mine. What are we talking about? What are we doing? What are we doing? Hey,
Well,
hey.
you
Jesse Brown
need X Rob to stay healthy.
I would like.
I
for
don't
him
think
to
that's
stay
the most
healthy.
important.
I still think that he's our best back. I think he's the best.
Okay, all right. I'm draining it. I'm reining it back. I'm trying to see your viewpoint here. Okay,
No,
I'm having a hard time based upon how good Avant, Hatton, and Walker looked in the spring game and all the reports leading up to the spring game.
Finally, I agree with Kyle DePuis about something. A grown-ass man in Jonathan Hatton is in the building, too. And that puppy bites. And then we saw what a Lloyd Avant looks like. And look, Torrey Blaylock, the dude played hurt from week one on. My concern, listen, I don't even think those guys ran behind. I don't even think those guys ran behind an offense that did them any service whatsoever. And they didn't get enough looks at touches as it was. At the end of the day, I think that Torrey Blaylock a year later and with, being surgically repaired and everything after playing through that bum shoulder the entire year, I think he's the home run hitter out of this group, no doubt about it. At the end, I like X-Rob as much as the next guy, but saying we got to keep him healthy, the dude's got to stay healthy, bro. I mean, at the end of the day, that's part of your best ability, availability.
All right. Well, we have a comment here from Jesse. Corner gives me the most worry out of the position groups.
Wow. Okay.
That's a hot take.
That's one other. I've seen that from one other person on there in the chat as well.
I guess one of the things, just like safety, I kind of view Jeremiah Newcomb as being also in the cornerback mix if we need him to be. Yes. And Tristan Haynes, and Dakota Fields kind of had big springs. Tristan Haynes especially, and then you've got Jacoby Johnson as your third cornerback. So
I don't know. I just gotta tell you that, and when I start looking at this defense, they are deep in all these places. Now you're not deep with guys that you've seen a ton of on the field.
But I feel better if Devin Jordan was your fourth cornerback. Yeah, I would. Okay.
Right. But at the end of the day, when you look at the coaching staff on that side of the football, it's a group of all-stars, and it feels like it gets better every time that you have to change somebody out.
Well, there's the continuity on that side of the ball, right? We've seen guys year over year. I mean, I know Lamar Morgan's new, but it looks pretty seamless him taking over for Jay Valai.
Sure, and I'm not downing Jay Valai. What I'm saying is Lamar Morgan was generally considered the best cornerback coach in the country coming in.
It was a pro move hire, just like the Witten thing is turning out to be.
I agree.
I think going in to spring,
I feel like you've got back-to-back years where you've had a freshman All-American there, and so you got to give this program a benefit of the doubt at that position, and pretty much at everything on defense. The guys that they've recruited over the last few years, the guys that they brought in through the portal to kind of shore things up. Jeremiah Newcomb is a dog from everything I understand. If he ends up playing in that position, I think you'll see him at nickel and cheetah some different places like that as far as what we saw with that.
He's the Swiss Army knife in the secondary.
I think he is. And then, when you look at Cortland, what he did last year as a true freshman, and the year before that, what you saw from Eli, those guys are sticky. End of story, sticky. And Cortland that dude is just, he takes it personally that you decided to come his way.
All right.
You know what I mean?
So, guys, I think the only other thing I think if you were slightly worried would be the wide receiver room. Some guys were knocked up and didn't make as much progress on the field, but the depth there seems radically improved. So I'm not sure I agree with that. I mean, the Mackenzie Aline guy and Manny Choice and Jasir Rogers all took advantage of other guys not being around. And Jaden Petit had a great second half of spring, according to reports and the highlights. So you kept putting on their from their media accounts. So I don't know. Like I said, I think left tackle, quarterback, I think they kind of go part and parcel, right? If you're having problems at left tackle, keeping your quarterback upright is a challenge. I mean, this sort of goes together, right? I mean, the more the better your offensive line plays, the better the run game plays, the more you're protecting John Mateer throughout, right? They kind of go together, right? I mean, there's a reason why Baker was upright all the time, right? Because he had Orlando Brown blocking for him for those, and for those years. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, Orlando Brown made multiple NFL defensive ends look silly, and he's been an All Pro in the NFL too. So I just think that's kind of the combination there. So do we want to jump to our attempt?
Let's answer this question real quick for the Longhorn football edit. What are your expectations for Parker Livingston this year? Over under 700 yards. Kchris, you want to take that?
For Livingston, I do think that he's going to have a really good year. 700 yards.
I think that's probably right around where, maybe a little under, maybe a little over that, but I think that's probably where his ceiling's at, wouldn't you think?
I think he has a good year, mainly because, again, Jason, I told you, I was like, hey, in the spring game, he was winning any one-on-ones that he had. I mean, he was doing it. That he should have had a touchdown that day if Mateer just puts it right there on the money for him.
Mateer missed him twice that I saw, especially that one in the touchdown in the end zone there.
He knows what he's doing out there. I think he has a good grasp of the offense or whatnot. But I think that as the season progresses, I think that's, again, no slide to any of the kids that we had last year, but I think Trell Harris, I think Manny Choice, I think Parker Livingston, I think those three especially, but
McKenzie.
Mackenzie Allen especially, but I think those guys, they elevated. You want to look, Jermichael Carter, if he comes back in, I think he has a good command of offense, and he made plays down the stretch last year, but Parker.
I like Manny Choice the other day, man. When we were out there, Manny Choice was really good to me,
But as far as Livingston is concerned, again, I just think that the talent level that he brings, he elevates that, and I think that some of the things that you want to see
from your outside receiver.
Yeah, outside receiver. Again, that's what I'm saying. Him on the outside. I think he's going to destroy some. There's going to be some DBs out there that are going to get worked mainly because of him. But he's a big addition, and I think he's a big part of what they want to do. I do think that Manny Choice, Eli Thomas, guys like that. I do think that they're a little bit.
Still got Isaiah Satania too.
Yeah, I was just going to say I think that those two guys kind of just on as far as the outside as what they could bring. I know they were working Eli Thomas kind of, slot, different things like that as a motion guy, but they had Manny Choice doing a lot of motion stuff too. But I think that those guys on the outside, they're a little bit more explosive, like athletically, but man, he just has his body under control, and he knows what he's doing as far as his routes and stuff like that. And I still believe that that Livingston is going to be Mateer's. I think he's going to be his safety valve. I don't even think it'll be Satania this year. I think it'll be Livingston because he's going to give him a big target. And I think you saw Mateer try to get his bigger targets involved an awful lot in that, or especially early on in that spring game. But again, I think Livingston's going to have a good year, though.
If he goes over 700 with the ball distribution, I think we're going to see. And Centennial looked great in the spring game, right? I mean, he did. I think
that's the best ball I've seen Mateer throw since he's got here.
If Centennial's looking at a repeat of around 800, 900 yards, we actually have tight ends that are going to see the ball, can catch the ball.
Mm-hmm. Large humans.
If Livingston goes over 700, along with the fact we didn't get to see Trell Harris and all his footage tells us that's a guy. If he's over 700, I think this offense is kind of humming. I mean, I think because if that's the case with what's going on, I think
if he's over 700, chances are he might be even better than that. So I mean, that means they're definitely moving it along. They're running the ball well.
Yeah,
and so they're able to catch people off guard a little bit as well.
They're getting the ball back. Defense is stopping folks.
Correct.
multiple possessions, which we and there's a big factor here. If the offense can put more points up like we think, the pressure it's going to put on opposing offenses going against OU's defense could just sort of that pressure and Brent being able to utilize that pressure. It could be we could end up with some double digit leads in the fourth quarter that we didn't quite anticipate. But I think Livingston he's a we didn't see a lot of him in spring, but everyone seems to think
when he was out there, he was fine, man.
He was fine. So, all right, you wanna move to our attempt at power rankings?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Sorry about that.
We got Texas fans in here, y'all, so y'all buckle up.
Well, Texas fans don't need to buckle up. Do we have any A&M fans in here as a sneak preview? Because they really, really are going to be very unhappy with what we're saying. So, all right, okay.
Oh, well, yeah. Shucks. We're going to piss off the ATM guys. All right, so obviously post-spring power rankings, we'll just go 16 to 15. I'm not going to add it. I'm not going to put it in here, but I just want to have it there so we can kind of show where we're at. But just kind of start off with your number 16, Mr. Mason.
Well, I have Arkansas, so I don't think I'm alone in that, based upon other people on the internet. But I don't see how Arkansas losing all the talent they lost. Mike Washington, was a big draft pick,
literally replacing everybody, man.
And they lost their quarterback, who was probably the only reason they were in some games last year. And then he also kind of lost them some games. Kind of a Heckle and Jekyll roller coaster ride with him, but he's a super talented kid. So I have Arkansas as number 16.
Yeah, I think that's the same for all three of us. And I mean, I don't have anything to add to that. So yeah, I'm with you there.
All right, at 15, I went with Kentucky. So did Kchris. Jason, you're kind of the outlier. You have Vandy. Do you see him dropping off that much?
I do. I don't think. I mean, look. At the end of the day, they lost their two best offensive weapons, which one obviously being their quarterback. And I like Curtis, who's coming in. Who's he going to throw to? Where are they at on that? I struggle to see them being that good. And maybe they're better than what I'm seeing here. But I'm actually seeing some of these teams that have been at the bottom. I mean, you're going to see what we're talking about here in a few minutes, when we get to a certain number where I feel like they're at. There's a couple of teams that I think are ascending. And I just think I'm not saying that I think Vanderbilt's going to go back to being that way every year, and maybe Curtis is better than I think he is. But as a true freshman, I think it's a lot to expect of him to come in and be Diego Pavia or anything like that.
Okay, and they've lost a lot of personnel.
They have indeed.
I mean, they had a bunch of guys drafted. I mean, for them. So okay, I see that. All right, at 14, I have Mississippi State. So does Kchris, who's copying me so far, but don't worry, we have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of changes coming up in a minute. Jason, you have Kentucky as your 14th team.
I'll tell you why I would say this too, because I like Kentucky in a lot of ways. The problem with it is their schedule is ridiculous. I think they got the toughest schedule in the SEC.
And they got Louisville on top of that too, right?
Yeah, one week after another. Yeah, they got Louisville on top of that. I think they play. Who are they playing in the preseason? I don't remember, but I know that it feels like they play the best teams in the league week after week, and so I'm a big fan of Will Stein. I think that they're going to be. I like their quarterback situation, but he's a first-year starter as well. I think it's a lot to ask for them to go too high up, but I have them. Yeah, so I have them down there, but not because I think that they're going to remain the Kentucky that we're used to seeing under the last few years of Mark Stoops.
All right, at 13th, I have. This is where we're not all just in sync here. So at 13th, I have Auburn. The Brown kid looked like crap in their spring game. They lost a lot of talent. Golish, I think, is probably a good coach, but their schedule. And just how much, the talent drain out of Auburn was considerable. And I just don't know how much all these UCF guys, UCF, was it USF guys? USF guys, I just don't know how much they really helped. So I know they beat Florida in a game that basically Lanier and Lagway gave away last year. I just don't. I'm not buying the. I'm not buying the Auburn. I'm not buying anything from Auburn until they actually do it, based upon last year, and the talent drain off that roster is just has been pretty heavy.
True, true.
Okay,
I went
Chris.
with.
Sorry, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Jason.
No,
Okay,
I
Chris.
went with. Go ahead, K. Chris. Go ahead with K. Chris. Sorry.
You went. Okay, Chris. You went with Florida. You have Florida the lowest out of the three of us. Why's that?
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think they'll have a solid run game. I think that they'll be a tough out for some teams. Schedule again is going to be, it's SEC ball, right? But for me, it's just I'm not necessarily convinced as far as quarterback, and then just, hey, they lost players, they lost this. I don't necessarily know what the receiver is going to look like. I know me and Jason, we disagreed a few weeks ago as far as what the offense will actually look like, as far as
We
spreading it
did.
out or just kind of being more of a power spread, kind of a power kind of option team like they were at Georgia
That's not
Tech.
what
But I
they're
know
going to
some of
be.
those things are going to carry over, but probably not everything. But at the same time, just like, I don't know, it's a lot of mystery. I mean, that was a spring game. I tried to watch some of that spring game, try to watch it back. Not too much I could tell. I think the quarterbacks made some good throws or whatnot. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, their DBs suck. But at the same time, guys were running down the field. I'm just like, I don't know. So kind of a question mark for me, more of a question mark. So that's why I kind of had them low, mainly because of just, I don't necessarily see them having a lot of success this year. I think that, are they a team that we're talking about the year after that could really make some noise? Possibly, but this year I just don't know how much what to expect from them or how much to expect from them.
All right, Jason. You have South Carolina. So
Yeah,
you,
no,
you
not buying South Carolina. You
this
guys,
this that's
everybody knows me. I'm not a Beamer guy.
and Beamer's
Not a
gone.
Beamer
But
dude.
if you're right, Beamer's gone.
Well, at the end of the day, look, I know that this is the every other year that he usually does something decent. They still have a tough schedule on their hands, and I don't know that. Look, as much as I like Kendall Briles and what he's going to probably do for that offense, they still. I don't know that they there's no way that you could have gotten everything that they needed to shore up that offensive line, which was absolutely putrid last year. I mean, it was just god awful. I don't know that there's no way that you could have went out and filled every hole that they needed at that in that way. Now, will they be better? Probably. Is Lenoris? I mean, the ceiling with Lenore Sellers is way up there. At the end of the day, we haven't really seen him beat anybody with his arm yet. And if he's not getting protected, I think he's in trouble. So, I think he can throw it. I think he's a monster, and yeah, you could see him as he's got that Cam Newton body type, but he ain't Cam Newton. We haven't seen that. So, at the end of the day, I'm just not a big believer in South Carolina, especially with Shane Beamer. I never really have been. So,
All right, at 12th, I have South Carolina. A lot of what Jason said, and just remember, their left tackle blew his knee out. He's out, and their right tackle's hurt. He's out, and the left tackle they bought from the portal, he's out, and their O line has sucked out loud for the last 2 years. I just don't see how that's getting better. And the Stewart kid, he's also banged up. And I seriously could see that kid, South Carolina, loses a game or two. That kid's going to be like, yeah, I'll see you guys in the NFL. I'm out. Their big defensive end, because why risk it, right? Do the Micah Parsons thing and just call it a night and wait for the combine. Jason, well, okay, so, all right. So I got South Carolina here. Okay, Chris, you have Tennessee. You're the lowest on the Vols out of us.
Yes, I am.
And
I again, quarterback is a big question mark for me. Obviously, losing Aguilar, we know what they want to do with that offense, and guys, the reason why I say quarterback is just because we know what it looks like at a high level, and we know what it looks like at a very mediocre level. Nico just could never really get that offense to the level that they thought he could. He looked great against the, North Carolina States of the world or whatnot, but SEC play, it was up and down each week. So no continuity there. Not saying that they can't find magic, because hell, hey, few years ago, who would have thought that Hendon Hooker would have transferred from Vatech and then went over there and did what he did? But he did, right? So that's kind of a question mark. I think everywhere else, we know that they're going to have some good receivers. We know that they're going to have a decent, a solid running game. We know that defensively they should be somewhat stout. But that's another issue actually that I have as well is that guys, what's Knowles. It takes a while to learn that defense. That defense is not necessarily overnight. You just get it unless he simplifies.
They have a lot of their guys back though on that side of it. So hopefully,
but they've never played in that system before. So that's.
But they added their best piece from Penn State came with him, which and
the Gilliam kid, right?
Is he going to play? I thought I heard that there were some issues there.
I hadn't heard that.
I hadn't heard that. So.
Okay, we'll talk about it after the pod. Anyways. That's perfectly fine. They should be somewhat decent on defense if they pick it up. Somewhat decent. They should be really good on defense if they can pick that system up fairly quickly. It works. We know it works. Sure. We'll definitely see that fourth game of the season when they play Texas if that's the case, right? But, guys, I just say it's a little bit too much mystery there for me as far as what's going on with that quarterback battle because do you go with the true freshman, the talented true freshman, or do you go with the guys who have experience?
The McIntyre guy who's been in there.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Tennessee. So Jason, you're debuting Mizzou on the list. Mm-hmm. I guess it's because their entire defense left and matriculated.
Yeah. Listen. Yeah. Lost the defense. Lost your quarterback. Lost your offensive coordinator. So they're new there. I'm a fan of Austin Simmons. I think that he may be pretty good, and they surely moved quickly to name him the starter after the spring game. And look, the running back situation obviously is a good thing, and for Mizzou that's a deal. But look, I didn't think they were that damn good last year when they didn't have a tough schedule and went 8-4. I just didn't.
They didn't beat anybody with the pulse.
I don't think they got better. And I think their schedule got tougher. I think that they're at the start or maybe even middle of a slide back to where you usually expect to see Missouri, which is near the bottom of most leagues that they play in.
All right, at 11th, Chris and I have Vandy. I just think good coaching staff, some continuity. I think the Curtis kid is very talented, and maybe I'm going off recruiting rankings. I just know how talented that kid is, and in that system he's a good fit, and they've done a good job doing a lot with a little. So I'm giving that coaching staff continuity. They kept their offensive coordinator. I'm giving them that, but it wouldn't shock me if they file off more. But I'm kind of giving them some points for the continuity on their staff and putting some good vibes and putting some things together. They're doing better in high school recruiting. They brought in a good recruiting class, and obviously the Curtis kid.
And they're investing. They're investing in it.
Yeah, I'm investing in that. All right, Jason, you have A&M. You're the lowest on A&M. You have A&M at 11th.
Yeah, I think it's all about Marcel Reed. I think he's a liability at best. They also, another team that didn't play a very tough schedule. They played Notre Dame early. Got to win there. Got to give them credit for that, even though it is what it is there. The rest of the way, they didn't really play anybody good. I saw them losing to the worst South Carolina team I could have imagined, 30-3 at the half. They've come back and are able to win, but it's a home game. You should have never gotten down that much. But in that part of it, he threw 3 interceptions. Turns around, awful against Texas again, awful in the game in the playoff. They had, 3 points in the playoff game?
At home.
At home. And on top of that, as much as I like Mike Elko, I think it was a mistake to not go out and find a real offensive coordinator, not just replace Colin Klein with his underling that was there. I thought it was a big mistake. Your first job as a coordinator in the SEC should not be in the SEC at a place like this. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, and I don't think much of Marcel Reed. I just don't. I don't think he's very good.
All right. At number 10, Chris and I have Missouri. All the things you said, Jason, along with every defensive guy that gave us any trouble last year is either not in Missouri or in the NFL. And offensively, they're solvable. I mean, they just are. If you can stop their running game, they're pretty much dead in the water.
Man, hey, look, Austin Simmons, he is the biggest question mark of the Missouri Tigers team. Defensively, they're going to be solid. We know they're going to be pretty rowdy at home, but is he going to be, turnover prone? Because I made the assertion earlier this year when we kind of talked when we were looking around the SEC to you guys. I said now with the running game, them being so run heavy, that should take somewhat of a burden off of his shoulders, right? But with those limited opportunities, he's going to have to actually be precise and concise, right? He's got to be on the money with the ball. He can't turn it over like he did last year, which kind of plagued him. It kind of led way for Chambliss, or made way for Chambliss to kind of pop on the scene, or obviously injuries too. So we'll see. I know they're excited about him, and he does. I mean, guys, he does have a higher ceiling than I don't know why I'm forgetting names, but he does have
Probella? Was it Probella?
Yeah, Probilla. Yeah, Probilla. Yeah.
He definitely does. He definitely does.
He has a higher ceiling than that kid. So he's what could
he's still young too, by the way. He came in a year early?
Yeah.
Or 2 years early, it feels like.
Yeah, he could take them some places. He could hold them back too.
Yeah. So all right, so that's Mizzou. Jason, you have Mississippi State, and I'm guessing a big part of that is number 10 is higher than other folks, and that's Kamari Taylor, right?
Kamario Taylor. Listen, I think even without Kamario Taylor, I think that I see this team. Look, Jeff Lebby's going to put an offense out there that's going to put points on the board. We see that with Blake Shapen last year. Kamario Taylor's a difference maker for sure. I think and they helped him out on the offensive line. There's some things I like their running back room as well. The biggest thing for me is the return of Zach Arnett as the defensive coordinator. I think the biggest mistake that Jeff made in taking that job was hiring a coordinator that had never been a coordinator before, much less in the SEC. He was awful both years. They couldn't stop a runny nose. This is a guy, Zach Arnett's considered one of the best defensive minds in the country. He was doing a very good job. They won 10 games the last time he was the DC there. So this isn't, I don't think it's a huge step for them. They had games that they should have beaten Texas and Tennessee last year. They couldn't stop them, right?
Yeah,
they were out there putting points up.
They had wins, definitely. All right, so we got number 9. I got UF. I don't know what they have at quarterback. They got a lot of talent. Their schedule is okay. Kchris is South Carolina. He's a little warmer on South Carolina than you and I. And then you have Auburn. You're actually Kchris has Auburn coming up, so that's going to be interesting. You have Auburn at number 9.
Okay.
Which I think is if the Brown kid plays really well at quarterback, that's kind of where I see Auburn's ceiling. So I totally get Auburn at 9 or 8.
I have South Carolina there because I think the weapons that they have now, what you've named has scared me. And is there a chance that the DN, does he shut it down at some point during the year if things aren't going right? Right? They have weapons.
Wouldn't you?
They have weapons defensively. We know they'll kind of be stopped. But here's the issue. This is why I have South Carolina so low. The issue with South Carolina.
Well, you're the most confident on South Carolina of the three of us.
I know I'm the most confident, but I still have them low, Chris Mason, at 10. The reason why I have them so low is point blank and simple. Kendall Browse. I mean, come on, man. I don't know. I think that offense again. The veer and shoot now is ran by a lot of teams, and it has become saturated to a certain point. And I think that so long as you are able to change your coverages and be able to run zones effectively, I mean, we've seen it. Hell, we saw it against Tennessee last year. After really, they kind of blew their load in that first quarter. To be honest with you, it just kind of seemed like things kind of went downhill. Again, we've seen what that offense could be like at a high level, and we've seen what it could be like at a very mediocre level. That's going to be an interesting thing for an Auburn, Mississippi State, and a and now South Carolina. And the interesting part is with that offense, you're counting, you're doing all the rest of these things. Your offensive line has always been bad, and they've always allowed a lot of sacks on Lenore Sellers. So now you put him in that offense and say, hey, it's a thinking game. Now you have to think more than you react. I don't know if that's a recipe for success. That's just me.
All right. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so we're now down to number 8, the 8th team. I have Tennessee. Heupel just generally tends to get a quarterback going, and I think the two guys they have are very talented. They got talented wide receivers. Knowles brought in several
Very talented wide receivers.
as we saw. They were the only real second. They blitzed our secondary more than anybody else, really,
Absolutely.
to a certain degree. Their defense, they got a lot. Heupel has a lot of talent, and if he can find a quarterback that can run that QB friendly system they have, then I think they'll make some waves and be better than they were last year, because defensively they kind of fell apart. I mean,
Yeah.
he needs this kind of.
And they were still right there. They were still right there. And at the end of the day, if you're just a little better on the defensive side, and I think they're going to run the ball well again. That's
They got
one
a good
thing
running
about
back.
Josh
They got a good
Heupel.
running back. They got a good running
Josh
back.
Heupel runs the football too. He's one of the few guys that started off as an air raid dude, and maybe he's gone over to the veer and shoot or whatever. I know that's kind of partly his as well. At the end of the day, this dude runs the football. He doesn't care about running the football. He's going to make sure that his quarterback stays healthy. I think he's going to put him in a good position to succeed. Faison Brandon may be ready, may not be. The other guy, I don't know who they're going to end up starting, but I don't think that I think what you said earlier, Kchris, about when you had what's his name there. I mean, they got to the playoff with him not playing that great.
Yeah,
They had a
Nico,
good defense.
They had a great defense
With Nico.
there.
They had a great defense.
Loaded front seven. Just
Absolutely.
NFL
And then they
guys.
had Dylan Sampson that could tote the rock.
Yeah.
So they were able to move the football and not make him take shots that he didn't need to take and put the ball in harm's way. Is that going to win the national championship for him? Is it going to get him to the playoff this year? Probably not. But I think that right here, right around 8, 9, I think that's about where they fall to. I don't think they're as bad off as what Kchris thought.
All right, Kchris. We're gonna get back to you on A&M, because I have A&M number 7. So we'll get to A&M in 8 with your opinion too. To me, A&M, I don't trust Marcel Reed, and I don't trust their rebuilt offensive line. 4 new starters, basically from retreads across the SEC, and I don't trust. And if Marcel Reed's being pressured, he's gonna throw interceptions. So and they lost a defensive captain, I think, in their spring game. They lost a guy they lost a big time player in their spring game, one of their outside linebackers, edge guys. Kchris, is that sort of where you lean with A&M too?
I put them there just as a nod to Mike Epko. I think that he's a good coach. We shall see. I think that
a lot of draft picks.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, and yeah, it will be interesting to see. I mean, the debacle that they had down the stretch of the fall off that they had throughout those kind of last 3 games of the season for them, and that needs to be studied. That was insane. The Texas game, a lot of different things.
If they'd ended up in Atlanta instead of Alabama, I think UGA would have put the boot to them.
Oh yeah, that would easily by 50, because at that time Marcel, I don't know, maybe you blame it on Colin Klein kind of having one foot out the door as it was, because I'm sure those conversations were going on for a long time with K-State. But that's the interesting part as well, is there a change in philosophy as far as, are they trying to push the ball down the field? Are they trying to do certain things that were different, kind of out of his comfort zone? Because Colin Klein does not call an incredible game, but it's highly efficient, and he will make you fall in love with all the eye candy that he will give you. If you take it, then that's whenever he will just definitely destroy you just by small gains and just chipping it up and down the field. But is there a change or anything that could throw off a Marcel Reed? I think that's kind of something that we have to watch throughout the year.
All right, so Jason, you have number 7. You have Florida, and then we'll get back to Chris's interesting choice of Auburn as the 7th team. So Florida, you think they're going to find a quarterback? You're going to think that offense is going to click a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, I think that both the quarterbacks they have shown signs from what I can tell. I'm pretty tight with the high top guys. I know that they're Gators by a million all the time, but at the end of the day, what you've seen from look, I trust this coach more than I trust this guy's never had less than 9 wins in a season as a head coach. He's done it at places that are much harder places to win at than Florida. They're going to have a defense. They've got the best running back probably in the SEC, or if not one of the best
Yeah,
top 2 or 3
Kawan
anyway.
Lacey and Ahmad, whatever his name is at Mizzou.
Jaden Baugh, but at the end of
Yeah.
the day, they were able to bring the guys back that they really wanted to get to keep around there on the offenses and defense side. Philo, I mean, he's coming with him from Georgia Tech. I think that he was expected early on to be the starter, but it sounds like the guy that was already there. I'm trying to remember his last
Trammell
name.
something.
Tremel Jones, isn't it? Tremel Jones?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, stud, man. So, and I mean, at the end of the day, do I think that they're going to be top 3, 4, get in the playoff? Probably not. I think it's a lot to ask for from a first year coach. One thing that we know that Billy Napier was able to recruit people. He just wasn't able to put, he wasn't good at the game day stuff, right? I think that was his biggest problem. So, but I think, John Summerall is a winner, man. The guy's a winner. I think he's the best hire in the SEC. And I think obviously Lane Kiffin was a perfect hire for LSU. I think that was a great fit. But I think that John Summerall was the right guy.
All right, Kchris, you have Auburn 7th, which is like
what? Say something, Kchris. Speak.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely had something to say. Jason.
Speak.
Jason, you're my friend, right?
Yeah.
Not so fast, my friend. Please. Best coach, best hire. Okay.
I said the best hire I think he was the best hire. I think he was.
I'm probably gonna go a little bit with Golish. Mainly because
Are you serious? Hell no. You're gonna tell me Golish?
Summerall is a good coach. I will give him that. That's perfectly fine. I'm just going with Golish because I kind of believe in him. He cares. He cares. Now,
he's at Auburn. What are we talking about?
I will say I am on record. You guys have the text messages to prove it. I am on record saying I think he would have been a better fit for a place like OSU, Oklahoma State University. But hey, look, we can't have our cake and eat too.
But you're telling me he's better than Summerall, and you're saying he would have been better at OSU?
Look, that's not the point. It's about the principle. Anyways.
That's big. That's huge.
Chris Mason, I kind of think it's gonna click for them because hey, look.
I mean, Brown would have to be really bad to be worse than what they had at quarterback last year.
Exactly. I think they're gonna chunk it up and down the field. They're gonna test.
He doesn't throw with this shit. What are you talking about?
They're gonna test some guys. They got a little moxie. They got a little.
And they lost their receivers. One of which went to Florida. And Florida also has one of the best receiving rooms in the SEC without a doubt.
I said what I said, man. I just
all right. Okay. All right, number 6.
Let's get a wager on this one. Let's get a wager on this one between me and you, bro, because I guarantee you I feel good about that one.
All right. I was afraid this topic wasn't going to be that interesting. Was I wrong? All right. Number 6, I have Bama. I could have dropped them lower. I'm worried about their O-line. I'm worried about their finesse approach and the long-term effects of making that work in the SEC. And that's why I have them. Their schedule's kind of favorable, though, from a certain perspective. So I think Bama. I have Bama at 6. Okay, Chris, you seem to sort of agree with that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think they have the things there. I think what needs to happen, in my opinion, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, they need to go ahead and just declare that Keelan Russell is
the starter,
is QB1. I think Austin Mack.
I went to the A-Day game. That dude's legit.
I think Austin Mack is more than a serviceable quarterback. I think he could be a starter at a high level D1 program. I just think that it's different when you see Keelan Russell. They both make really good throws, but I think that Keelan Russell is more confident right now. It feels like Austin Mack is playing not to lose. It feels like Keelan. I mean, excuse me. It feels like Austin Mack is playing not to lose. It feels like Keelan Russell is playing
When they're having to
to
make
be the
excuses
guy.
for him after the spring game that he wasn't getting hit in, and all of a sudden he's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was
No.
there. I can tell you what I can tell you the difference in them. It was huge. Keelan Russell is the guy. He's not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
The dude was able. I mean, his movement was really good, and I think that the Bama defense is legit.
I,
The
I think it
secondary,
remains
the
legit.
secondary certainly is.
It is damn sure is, and he
I
made a throw off platform into a tight window. Wasn't afraid to make the throw, and he completed it too. I listen, more than one thing that I saw out of him. I think the guy is a true superstar type of player. I think he's the reason that they stay relevant here.
I just man, I just have concerns about the offensive line replacing, starters,
Sure, I
first
get that.
round guys, different things like that. Just don't know how you come in and say, "Oh yeah, SEC, we're going to do that." Trust. We tried to say the past couple a few years ago that was not the case. Then
No, I get that.
also, just a simple fact of you don't have the Bernards of the world or guys like that. I'm not necessarily sure. I know they have some receivers that they're big on outside of Ryan Williams, but you don't have those safety nets, those guys who can, hey, go make a play. Isaiah Horton is gone as well, so you don't have that
Latair
big
Brooks
body
ain't.
receiver. Yeah. The Brooks kid, he had the number 17, right? He gave us work,
Stud.
yeah, in the
Yes, he did.
playoff game. So I mean, that's a kid that could be big time, but at the same time, some of the continuity that you lost last year, and I think that Ty Simpson, what he had going on up here, that may be something that factors into the equation as well. So I just don't know. I think that they're going to be a good team, but I just wonder about that offensive line and that running game. How much can they really improve, especially with the simple fact of it's not necessarily the guys that they have, or yes, they're bringing in a brand new offensive line pretty much, but with a lot of the different things they want to do formation wise, with a tight bunch formations, different things like that, where they kind of leave themselves kind of limited across the line. That's what's so scary about the situation is the simple fact that yes, we know guys can leak out of the backfield with your running backs and the heel kick and catch and do a lot of really nice things, and you could do a lot of you put guys in a bind with those tight bunch formations, but at the same time, Keelan Russell, we know he's the guy. We know he's not scared, but he's still going to be, pretty much a freshman. It's going to be his first year in 2 years playing, football again. Let's just be real. So that's something that you got to think of. And then again, the question mark is Ryan Williams elite, or is he just a really, really, really times like 100 good wide receiver? Like is that what he is? Is he just a really good wide receiver in college, or is he elite? Right? I think that's the question for him this year. The drops, all the rest of that stuff, that kind of has to go, because you would kind of think that the kid is probably going to jump to the draft this year. So I think for him, he's playing with house money this year for sure on the field, because there's a difference between being a first rounder and a difference between being a fourth round guy that people are like, oh yeah, first round grade, but production slips, drops. Does he really love the game? Yada yada yada. All the rest of that stuff that they talk about now, that's stuff that has to be fixed for him.
All right, Jason, you have LSU number 6.
Yeah, I'm just not ready
The
to.
lane train's not convincing you right now.
Well, I mean, I think that you made a point with the Sam Levitt thing. Listen, I think that Husan Longstreet might be pretty good. I don't know that I think that Sam Levitt's even that great. I think that he benefited very much so 2 years ago from having probably the best running back in the country behind him, running like crazy through
And
everybody,
Tyson
right?
was a pretty damn good wide receiver.
Tyson as well, and I think also, obviously when you put him with the Kenny Dillingham, he looks pretty good too. Dillingham's a great coach. Look, it's a good situation for him. But at the end of the day, I think that they replaced an awful lot too. They had to rebuild their offensive line completely. I think that Jordan Seaton was a big get for them, but I don't know about the rest of them. I mean,
Well,
you're still playing musical chairs with a lot of guys. At the end of the day, going and getting a bunch of receivers and then 3 quarterbacks, you're expecting that defense to remain as good as it was. They did keep their defensive coordinator, so I think they could be there, but I still haven't seen Lane actually do anything yet, other than what we saw out of Ole Miss last year. And I'm not positive that it was all about him. I'm just not.
Well, I have them fifth. My concern is that Levitt doesn't play, and then they're going with they have to go with a backup, and it takes them a while to get going. Just like A&M, I'm worried about and Bama, I'm worried about their O line. Again, they picked up a bunch of castoffs, and Jordan Seaton is like, all power to the kid. He's making all his money, but that kid's give a blank factor is really low. You watch some of his effort stuff at Colorado, it's really low. He knows he's getting drafted, and he's not really that interested in giving too much. So we'll see. That's why I have LSU fifth. We apparently lost Chris because something so funny has sent him over the edge. That's why I have LSU fifth. You have Alabama fifth because I guess you like Russell and you think Russell is the QB answer for losing Simpson.
Yeah, I think he's better. I think he was better than Simpson already. So I would have probably. I get why they went with Ty Simpson last year. I don't think that you could do that another year. And at the end of the day, I think I like Keelan Russell a lot. And again, I think that their defense is legit. That secondary is absolutely legit. I like their receivers. I think that, but this is the kind of kid that's going to come in there and he's not afraid of anything. This is a superstar type of kid. He can make a difference.
Okay.
I would agree with you as far as their offensive line concerned, although I would tell you that as big as they were on the O-line, you get to a certain weight and you don't move very well. And I think that what they've kind of replaced with, listen, they've had a Joe Moore Award offensive line in the past with Kalen DeBoer when they were at Washington. Smaller dudes, move quicker. They're able to kind of run their offense the way they want to. I don't know that I'm not saying that it's going to work out perfectly for them because I don't know that it does. At the end of the day, I don't know that it could be a whole lot worse. I didn't think they were that good on the O-line last year.
They weren't. So, OU had them. OU
correct.
put them on rails, and then Kirby.
But they had no quickness, and so I know that they're kind of more going towards who the type of guys that Kalen DeBoer likes with his program. At the end of the day, it's still Alabama. There's still a lot of talent there.
The talent drain's been leaking, but yeah.
But they continue to add to it. So
they do.
At the end of the day, I could be wrong here. I mean, it could be either or with these two teams. But right now, I don't really believe. I gotta wait and see until what we get out of LSU with Lane Kiffin, man.
All right, let's all talk about. We basically all have. I mean, Kchris has Ole Miss fifth. You and I have him fourth. Let's just talk Ole Miss a little bit. Obviously, they had the best quarterback in the conference, maybe the best returning quarterback in the country. I know that's a big statement, but Trinidad certainly in the playoffs was unreal, right? That UGA game, he was just stupid. I don't know that Golding. Perkins got drafted like 5th round.
I was going to say like 4th or 5th, right?
I think he went to. Did he go to Tampa? I think he went to Tampa.
I think so.
Yeah. But anyway, I have Ole Miss at 4th. I think they've got weapons. Offensively, they'll be okay. Defensively, I'm kind of worried about some of the pieces they lost, and I think their O-line maybe will take a step back. And overpower. When you look at their schedule, they're going to go back to Norman again, and I think we'll get them in Norman this year. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have them just at below this level. But Chambliss is going to play his ass off and beat a couple teams that are not supposed to beat. And that's just
listen. They got their running back, and they added a really good running back from the portal as well from the FCS level. But he had like 1,800 yards and 25 touchdowns.
Yeah, Lacey's elite. So I mean, this is all in for them this year, really.
New receivers though, new offensive line. I think there's definitely some questions.
So I don't necessarily doubt that, right? But Jason, Chris Mason, we talked about it before. We can't just overlook the glaring issue
of no Kiffin.
offensively. No Kiffin.
Okay.
I think that
Not only
his
that, but also no Charlie Weiss Jr. either.
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you don't
Yeah,
have
no
those
doubt.
two with kind of just, especially with Kiffin, to say, hey, this is some of the craziness, the madness that we see from Kiffin. You're not, that turns into something beautiful. I don't know if that's there. Is the quick thinking, is the wittiness, all the rest of that stuff. Some of the things, are you missing some of those kind of off key
They
things?
did replace him. They did replace the coordinator with another Kiffin guy that had been co-OCs with Levy back in the day. So
Okay, we
for
shall
what
see.
it's worth,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
what it's
yeah,
worth, and I'm not
yeah.
saying I'm not. My thing with them is they got a lot coming back, right?
Yeah.
And they did with Pete Golding coming in. They definitely put some attention on the defensive side, which was really the weakness of that football team last year. If they could continue to run the ball and they added the right pieces as far as receivers are concerned, I don't know if that they did or not. Trinidad Chambliss is the real deal, and I think that's. I mean,
He's the reason. If they didn't have
the reason I like them. I don't necessarily like them to repeat because I think their schedule is rough, but I still think they're one of the better teams in the SEC.
All right, then at number 3, 2 and 3, we basically Kchris has LSU number 3, the highest. So we'll talk about give Kchris. Kchris, why is LSU the number 3 team in the SEC?
I think Kiffin's going to be able to do some things with the weapons that he has out there.
You have him above Texas.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, if Levitt is healthy, I think that they can do some things offensively if it gels. I think that the Barry kid, Durham, all the rest of them, he has backs. I think I kind of believe that Kiffin can get that train going once again. How great they could be, I don't know. In his first year, is Levitt going to be able to pick up things like he should? I mean, hell, Chambliss did, right? So that's the only thing that I kind of think about. I think defensively, they're returning a lot of people. Blake Baker's a really good, I mean, defensive coordinator.
Done a great job. Done a great
We
job.
know some of the things that he wants to do with that defense offensively. That was one of the few teams that kind of, that we could say, hey, we talk about it with with our Sooners, offensively, we kind of let the defense down a lot. They definitely did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, the defense was not great all the time, but at the same time, they played well enough to keep you in games that you probably shouldn't have been in because offensively, you just struggled, right? So we shall see. But I just feel like they have a really high ceiling there with just some of the weapons that they have. And then, again, the wide receiver room, you're looking at like, okay, you got a D2 guy, you got this, you got that, and you just like, it's the same makeup, the same formula that he just literally had success with there at Ole Miss. So I'm just like, he's doing it at LSU now, so he sees something that we don't. So I can't doubt Kiffin until it doesn't work.
All right.
Except he's never won a conference championship or anything like that. He doesn't seem to win these big games. I think we're going to find. I mean, that's one of the biggest games. What is it? Week 3?
Yeah,
that they play.
Ole Miss,
Ooh, in Ole Miss, in Oxford,
It's
back
gonna
down there. That's going to be wild
that
down
to be
there.
a night game.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy.
Buddy.
All right, so I have UT at 3. Chris has UT at 4. We just talked about LSU for Chris. So the reason I have UT 3 is I don't think they've improved their offensive line as much as they think they have. They added 3 basically the leftovers from the portal during spring. Obviously, they see some depth problems in those areas. Otherwise, why would you add 3 guys during spring? During spring ball, they added 3 players from the portal. One guy at offensive line who's been not played for 2 years. They added some safety from Michigan State who's in his 7th year. They added some pieces just because they apparently have some depth gaps. I think they let too many guys go in the portal. Their high-end talent is high-end. Not going to deny that, right? Arch, if he's protected, has a chance to have a very good year.
Yep.
I think they spent too much money on the same running back, but that's all right. They got 2 good running backs. They had good years last year. I think that's kind of the same guy, but whatever. Maybe Sark can make that work. But to me, and this is going off what SEC Mike said on that SEC podcast, he had Texas even lower than this, and he said, "I don't understand all the hype about Muschamp.
I've been
Muschamp's
hearing him say that. Yeah.
Muschamp's last year's coordinating, 2015 onwards, when he's basically their defensive stop rates weren't good. They weren't good defensively. They weren't good defensively at his stops. When he was at Auburn briefly, they weren't good. I don't get. I think the Muschamp thing is a huge. I don't buy Patterson helping Lincoln Riley, and I don't buy Muschamp helping regaining. They're hiring him thinking it's 2007 again. It's not. So that's why I have Texas. They've got a lot of talent. Their schedule's difficult, very difficult, worse than last year. They have a huge jumping off point like OU does with the Ohio State game. I just don't see. I think they've got too much talent, and Arch will probably put it together. Maybe the O line gels and things work, but they've just got. I think their schedule's just too tough. They're going to drop a game or two. They're going to drop a game or two or three, and it's going to be. And they're going to wonder why they spent all this money. That's what I have with Texas. So, okay, Chris, you have them fourth. What do you? Give me your thoughts there. You're on mute, so your thoughts are
A
silent.
lot of the same reason that you gave. I do think that Arch is going to be pretty damn good this year. I think that we saw him down the stretch play some really good football. So I'll give them that. I mean, I think offensively they're geared up to be, pretty damn good. I think the interesting part is that, you don't necessarily see that much hole in this game, but you still want to see what is it going to look like with Sark for Cam Coleman, right? Running routes, doing different things like that. Not necessarily just being a go ball guy, right? But Sark is good at that. They seem to simplify things for the receivers. So it looks like they have their three-headed monster. I think this kind of puts Wingo back kind of in his rightful place, not necessarily wide receiver one, but wide receiver two, yeah, and kind of just being kind of that gadget guy. So
Yeah, I
that's the
agree.
interesting part with a lot of the deception, right? That Sark wants to do. A lot of the not I wouldn't even call it trickiness. I just call it just just good old deception. Honestly, some of a lot of the stuff that he wants to do out there, as far as 30 different handoffs, and then boom, you turn around and Arch is throwing it 40 yards down the field. So it'll be interesting because there'll be a lot of eye candy out there. And then obviously they got the kid from Stanford. So that he has his three guys that he wants to keep on the field all the time at receiver. Running back wise, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, obviously, yeah, I would have loved to have Smothers possibly back, because that was something that we looked at. But I think that just with how everything played out, I think that we ended up, fine with where we're at. But at the same time, just not necessarily sure if you're counting on them to be kind of every down backs with Raleek Brown as well in the SEC.
Yeah.
That's just something that I'm kind of fearful about. Offensive line, I'm kind of with you, Chris Mason, but defensively, that's kind of the question. Obviously, Colin Simmons is coming back, but who's playing, on the opposite side of him, because he's going to see a lot of double teams this year. Linebacker, just lost Anthony Hill. That's probably a big loss. Lost a lot, secondary over these last couple of years. So again, I think that they're going to be solid. I think they're going to be good, but we'll see. Just like us, we got to go to Michigan, but Ohio State comes to town again, and we'll see. It come down 14-7 again, and Sark's calling, crazy ass plays around the goal line, or just playing around with it, being finesse, or are you guys actually going to kind of, your
Are they going to
physical?
have a goal line offense at some point that can
Yeah.
put points on the board? Is the question.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I think some of the things that I'm saying are easily, you can easily answer those things. And I mean, Texas parading around offseason champs once again, but still, I think some of those things that you can answer easily if you're Texas and just go ahead and do it. But we just gotta see it, right? They want to see us, win a playoff game, this and that. That's great. I just want to see y'all actually be able to finish around the goal line, because it seems like once y'all get inside the 20, it's a struggle, right? And so that's kind of the thing. You beat Bama a few years ago and you hang on to that, but what are we doing, right? Because Ohio State seems to be your Achilles heel. So got to go do it this year to kind of prove some of those things. But I
Georgia too.
think Arch is going to play really well this year.
All right, so Jason, you have You have OU third. You have OU behind Texas. Okay, Chris and I have
It's as
OU
simple as
ahead.
this. It's
You
as
don't.
simple as
You
this.
prefer Arch over Mateer.
Yeah, obviously. At the end of the day, what it really is, though, is that you haven't seen Oklahoma score a touchdown in the last 2 years in the Red River.
All right.
Plain end of story. They've lost. They've lost what, 2 out of the last 3, and they, 3 out of the 4 games since BV took over, they hadn't scored a touchdown. I'm not going to pick them to finish in front of Texas until they beat them. I want them to beat them. I think that they're very similar overall. I don't know that defensively, I don't think that Texas stacks up to where Oklahoma is. Offensively, I don't think Oklahoma stacks up, at least not at this point. If we can see the things that we need to see out of OU coming up, it's hard for me to do this. I hate this. At the end of the day, though, I said it before. I'm not picking Oklahoma to beat Texas
No,
until
you,
they
you
beat
said that all
Texas.
off. You said that all off season. So
Yeah. So it's simple as that. Now, I will say this. I believe that I don't know that I hate the Will Muschamp move, but I also look at it as Sark was I think Sark was taking heat off of himself. He had a terrible offensive line, and so he fires the DC. I thought it was wild because the
and kept
defense has
kept
carried
Kyle, kept
the
Kyle
defense
Flood.
has carried their ass for the last 3 years. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was wild. Keeps Kyle Flood, but he gets rid of the DC. And at the end of the day, what you said is true about Will Muschamp. Look, I think he's good, but I don't know. I don't know that it was an upgrade necessarily. I don't know that it really moves the needle, but I also don't think that they lose a whole lot there either because they're good on that side. Um, you know, at the end of the day, I still think they're going to be pretty good. Colin Simmons being what he is, look, we'll see how that all works out. But look, what I saw from Arch Manning last year at the end of the year is night and day different from the start of the year. I knew he was going to have to go through. We all talked about it. He was going to have to go through some growing pains. He did go through them. He looked a damn sight different at the end of the season than he did at the start. That's why I still think they're one of the top 2 teams, and I think they should definitely be back in the playoff. If they're not, what is Sark? What's his excuse if you don't get back?
Yeah. So I have OU over UT purely because I don't like the Muschamp move. I don't like that continuity. OU returns their DC, the majority of their defensive staff. And that's sort of what OU hangs their hat on last year. A lot of the same players coming back. Offensively, I think Bill Bedenbaugh's a better offensive line coach than Kyle Flood. And I'm waiting to see proof of that. And I think the talent OU has on their offensive line, I think it's better than UT's. I think OU was hurt last year. UT was also hurt. I just think OU is going to have a better offensive line, and I think that'll be the deciding factor. We'll see if that plays out.
I'd
Okay,
love it
Chris.
if it did. I'd love it
Hey,
if it
Chris.
did.
You have any other variables on why you picked OU over UT?
Boomer's fucking Sooner. That's what.
Thank
All right.
you. Thank
We'll
you.
move.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. Yeah,
All right.
Texas, bro.
And
So let me
OU
get that out there real quick. Fuck Texas anyway, but that's where we are.
and OU improved their weakest area, both coaching and personnel wise, at tight end. The biggest problem they had, they seem to have at least redone that. All right, we all have UGA as one. I think they have the least problems. They get OU in Athens. They don't have an Ohio State, Michigan type non-conference game. They have defense. They have the most continuity of all the staffs in the SEC. So I think overall, I think that's why I have UGA first. And you got just like Jason said, you're going to rank Texas above OU. You got to rank UGA first until somebody knocks them off.
Yeah, yeah. They've won the SEC 2 years in a row. And they were young last year.
3 years in a row, haven't they?
No. Alabama won it the year before that and went to the playoff. Remember Saban's last year.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, look, I think that they've still been. That was the year after they had won back to back.
Oh, okay.
Obviously,
All right.
losing in the Sugar Bowl for 2 years in a row. But you look at what Georgia was last year, and I like Gunnar Stockton a ton as well. I think the dude's a stud. At the end of the day, they were young in a lot of places last year, and they seem to get better throughout the year. Think about it. I mean, it took You had to go out there and score 50, 40 and 50 points to beat them. They were still, but they were out there getting after it too, and they needed to score 43 points to beat Ole Miss, which is another reason you're just like, man, Ole Miss's offense is legit with Trinidad. But I still like them to, I think that Kirby's the best coach in the league. I think that they've got arguably the best talent, and they got a lot of guys coming back. So until somebody knocks them off, I agree with you. I think they're beatable, but I think until somebody does it, you got to have them number one.
Yeah, that's why I have. I mean, their talent base is secure. Kirby, they're. I don't think Bobo's the world's greatest offensive coordinator, but I don't think he's as bad as Georgia fans think he is.
I don't either.
I think he's somewhere in the middle of that. But overall, I maybe worry about them. They don't have a real replacement for Zachariah Branch. That's about it. They don't really have a Branch type acquisition this year that I can tell.
They don't.
From the portal, and he made up for a lot of he made a lot of big plays for them, and I'm just not sure where those big plays come from. But other than that, that's who I have. Okay, Chris, you got anything to add about Georgia?
You're muted.
It's Kirby Smart, man. It's Kirby Smart. It is what it is. You gotta, until somebody beats them, you know, it kind of is what it is.
All right. Okay, guys. Anything else to add? We're at an hour and 40 minutes. So we certainly dragged this out with the lower levels of. I wasn't expecting so much controversy with the 8 through 16 picks, but we had a lot of controversy there.
You're just long-winded, Mr. Mason. You're long-winded.
I'm long-winded. Okay. All right. I'll take that.
No, good stuff, guys. No, I like it. I think good stuff with this. These lists are updatable at any time. We'll probably do this again before the season starts, I would imagine, at least one more time. So, before we get back into it, I think maybe we could start doing breaking down some of the rooms, running back room, quarterback room, blah, 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 throughout the SEC.
We got enough season and stuff to dwell on this. So, yeah.
We do.
We have 10 weeks until football? No, is it 10? No, it's more than that. It's like 12, right?
No. It's like,
at least 12 weeks, right?
Yeah. 3 months, 4 months.
It's at least 4 months. So yeah.
Hey man, July 20th is whenever reality sets in, because that's whenever BV speaks at the SEC Media Days. So
we'll see how confident he is. So
yeah.
All right, we're gonna call it a night.
Yep.
All right.
Call it a night. Appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to all 3 channels. We'll see you on the next one.